And you have been listening to Motion to Adjourn with MP Chris Famous and Dwayne Robinson, JP.
Yes, and I know you've mentioned the rationale behind selecting these buildings, but what was the main flags for you as to why West End was selected and over Somerset Primary to be closed?
Why it should be, you're asking me?
No. So the ministry basically gave its credentials as to why it chose certain buildings.
Well, I've heard many reasons. So I don't know which one is the correct one, because each time you hit on something, there's another reason. One of the reasons, the main one, I think, was that the score was Somerset Primary was 5% ahead of West End. But at one point, I've heard about the size of the building, size of the property. But let's be real, the size of the property, they're about 0.03 difference in size and acreage. Now, when the decision was made, that's what we looked at. Later, I hear about the property at the preschool, but that was not part of the assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
definitely wasn't.
I know it's obvious to you and me who come from the West End, but what to you defines for folks who may not be from the West End and know the significance of West End to the community? What defines it and makes it that community center?
Yeah, one of the things that was said was that they wanted this school to be the hub of the community. Be rest assured, West End has always been the hub of the community. You know, when we talk about the hub of the Somerset community or the Sands Parish community, we think of West End School, Sands, Somerset Cricket Club. Those are the main ingredients, if you like, of our hub. And it has been and still is the hub of Sands Parish. If you go any day of the week, watch the children playing on West End School. Everybody comes up the hills and they play on West End School field. That is where our children are. And West End is in the community, mainly black community, where most of the children live. You know, we have looked at numbers of people who are in the area of West End. If we think of, you know, Cooksville, Scottsville, Salmview, East Shore, let's go Bob's Valley, Elis Harbor, you know, we can go on and on. All those areas are right there near West End School. So, you know, our children walked from near and far. Our children walked to us from Dockyard at that point because they had no choice. And there came a time when let me say also that West End School was the first home of West End Rovers. West End Rovers eventually became the Somerset Trojans. But the football started at West End, you see, because our club, Somerset Cricket Club, was completed in 46, West End in 44. So the footballers used a room at West End, and that's where they started, you know, with the encouragement of the principals who were there at the time. All of the captains, many of the captains from Somerset went to West End School. All presidents except 2 went to West End School. One of the presidents came up from the West Indies, married a Somerset lady, and was all of his children went to West End School, so he became president of the club. The other one was from Hamilton, came to Somerset, married a Somerset person. All of his children went to West End School. So, there's no end to our history and how we have grown together. And what is most important about West End School is that it was built, but, we were all over the place for a while. We have to understand that as black people, we didn't own much back in that day. And so, no, we didn't own a building. So we moved from pillar to post. We went to places where that could accommodate us. And so our first real home was there, but we had been around in different places. We ended up at, where Sands is today. The corner building at Sands was called Flat Top. And right across from Mrs. Robinson's house, right on the corner of, you know where I'm talking about.
Yeah, I got
right
you.
on the corner of Scotts Hill Road and the tracks. That building was much smaller, and the office at the school is sort of in that building. Much smaller, and it was West End School. As we outgrew that place, these Somerset people led by Algernon Harford and, all Somerset men with names of, you'll know these as Somerset names, Lapsley, Mr. Lapsley, Mr. Bulford, Mr. Philpott, Mr. Forth, and a Mr. Burt. They were the people who assisted Mr. Algernon Harford, who was the lead contractor in building West End School, where it stands today. And when that was built, there was only the two-story section. So still, it couldn't accommodate us all. But at least it was able to bring the senior school over. The junior school stayed at Flat Top. And we had some students down at a place called Tin Top. Tin Top is across from the AME Church, Allen Temple AME Church. We had our tiny children down there. They were able to come up to Flat Top and the bigger children over to the new West End School because we had become overcrowded over there. Once we were now here in our new home, that too wasn't big enough. Other buildings were built on and added on to the structure, and we then were able to bring everybody over. But again, there came a time when we had to send little people back to Tin Top. The reason being, we ended up with 500 and I think 79 students in that facility. And there just wasn't space. Now, keep in mind, the segregation was rampant at that time. So we needed more space. That's when Bose Island came into play. Because Bose Island was built to take this overflow from West End. We had far too many children in that one building, so they were sent over in, I think it was 1982. Could it have been 82? No, sorry. Bose Island, they were sent to Bose Island in 63. In 63, that's correct. They were sent to Bose Island School, and all the children who lived east of Loyalty Inn, you know where Loyalty Inn is, right there near the Bank of Bermuda.
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody living east of there, so, you know, over toward Dockyard, they had to go to Bose Island School. No choice, but West End was overcrowded, so that's the way it happened. The children were split, and then by 1972, so 9 years later, and there might have been a plan for this, 9 years later, that school was gone, and the children were sent to Somerset Primary. That used to be Sands Grammar School for white children only, but remember the bases were in Somerset. The white children from the Navy base, those from the Canadian base, they were all at Somerset Primary. The black children from the base were at West End.
Ms. Horton,
yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. We gotta go to our news break. But
sure.
Right after that, we'll come right back to you. Okay, so hold that thought, please.
Okay.
And we're back to Motion to Adjourn. Ms. Horton, you still have that thought? Or did you lose it?
I might have it.
Please.
Yeah. We were talking about the movement and the children from the bases leaving, and therefore the opening up of Somerset Primary, and the children from Bowes Island were sent to Somerset Primary. So they were actually West End children who were sent to Bowes Island because they weren't allowed to go to Somerset Primary. Then when the bases left, those children were sent over to Somerset Primary because now they had loads and loads of space. So that's how that came about. But, West End has been in a fight for its existence under all governments. So if I think back, the first fight was 1982. In 1982, the government of the day, the UBP government, decided, just out of the blue, that it would change West End from a two-form entry school, and it would make Somerset Primary a two-form entry. So West End was going to go from 2 to 1, and Somerset Primary from 1 to 2. And we fought that issue. Parents literally put their feet in the street, and that was reversed. And we were allowed to keep our students. In 1996, a different tactic was used. We started with the removal of excellent teachers because West End was a powerhouse at that time. And we removed, the first 2 teachers to go were Cheryl Laylaw and Agneta Tavares. A year later, so that was 96, by 97, they came and moved Diane Hunt and Hillary Lightbourne. And that went on, just in an effort to break us down. So we have always been fighting governments for our very existence. There was also a decision made to name the new prison West End. And our children at that time even paraded to fight against that. Parents took their children with them to say no. So it became Westgate. But, from our perspective, it looked like, okay, West End School, West End Prison. What was this? Maybe the school-to-prison pipeline? I don't know what they were thinking, but that could have been in their thoughts. And that was all under the UBP government. We had to fight, and now here we are again under the PLP government with an attempt to remove the school. And I'm hopeful that this can be reversed. And I want to say at the outset, with respect to even the closing of schools, we just have to look at where we are and where we have been. And I think most educators will agree that we are not in a good place right now. When I say not in a good place, our children suffered under COVID. So we lost family members, You know, many of our children lost family members. I mean, Bermuda lost a lot of people during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So no family was, you know, we weren't happy as a group. We were in mourning for quite a while. And our children missed out on school. Now, when I say missed out, we might have tried Zoom classes. We might have done all of that. But some children had packets. All of us didn't have all the facilities at home to work on Zoom. Also, you know, children, even those who did, the computer was on sometimes, but the children weren't there.
Mm.
So our children really missed out. And I've talked to many present educators who felt that the children had lost some ground. And that's expected. You know, we went through a traumatic phase here in Bermuda. We're out of school for so long. We were shut down for so long. And we had a lot of problems going on. So, yes, our children lost out. So right now, I believe our children are not in the place they would have been had we not gone through those 2 years. But all these decisions were made during that time when we couldn't get together as a group, when we couldn't sit in rooms and discuss things, and that makes a big difference with getting your point across, or even ensuring that people listen to your point. It's easy to be dismissed if you write a letter. It's much easier than if you're standing face-to-face with a person. So, you know, I think we unfortunately have had issues in that area. But, you know, from where I sit right now, the future of our children, the future is at stake. And, you know, I believe that after attending some meetings that I have attended, you will know of the meeting in St. George's, which turned out to be horrible for parents. Parents didn't have buy-in. Parents weren't informed. And that day, parents are being told, it wasn't up for discussion. Parents were being told what would happen. And I remember listening to the language. The children of these 3 schools will go. You know, and they named the 3 schools in the east in St. George's Parish, that is St. David's, East End, and St. George's Prep. Those 3 schools, the parents were in a meeting and told that their children would not be educated in St. George's, but they would be going up to Whitney. And so there was furor, there was anger. And the meeting, it was incredible to listen to it. And I thought the pain that those parents felt of the thought of no schools in my parish, sending my babies up, you know, to Whitney, to a school that wasn't prepared for them, It became a problem. So that was one time when we started to see, hey, the parents are not on board with this. I attended a second meeting, which included West End School. The meeting was scheduled for West End. It got pushed back, and it was scheduled for West End like 2 weeks later. Next thing, maybe a day or two before the meeting, it was rescheduled in a different location. That meeting probably was not as highly attended as it would have been had it been left up west, because it was the last minute when people were told they had to go down. However, sufficient people went. And it was clear that the parents were not in favor of what they were being told. And one more time, what they were being told. So it became really a struggle for parents. Parents were angry. Parents were, you know, and the fight became, it was an us and them thing. So it was a fight between, they were literally, in my opinion, fighting the ministry. The people at the ministry, I know, were doing their job by passing on what they had been told to pass on. But the idea wasn't a good one. Anyway, it became quite boisterous. Mm-hmm. And that was one that the minister attended. So they left there. I remember the fact that no parent agreed with what was going on. Absolutely no parent in attendance agreed. And they were asked, if you agree with this, please stand. Nobody stood. If you disagree, please stand. Everybody stood. One lady told of sending her child to private school. Mm-hmm. You know, she talked about the struggle to get that child there, but she was going to do it. So if we continue on our way, we will do just what we did back in the late 90s when we changed the school system. We will lose more public school children to private schools. And we can ill afford that. Bermuda is probably one of the few places in the world where most of the children are educated in private schools. Mm-hmm. I'm sure if you did the numbers, you would find that the private schools probably house more children than the public schools do, or at least well up there. And so many of our children are in private school. And as a country, we should be really concerned about that. But if we're going to win our children back, it's not going to be by fighting the parents. We have to respect the parents, make sure that they are on board with everything. And I mean, I know we won't get complete agreement, but certainly we need to have our parents a part of the decision making. Mm-hmm. And it's not good enough to say, for the government to say, we are concerned about our children. Hey, who's more concerned about the children than the parents?
Exactly.
You know, so those parents are really concerned about their children, and right now they're not feeling good about it. So, you know, I would love to think that we can rethink the situation, pause, and get the buy-in from parents. You know, we could still do that while getting rid, or while phasing out, that's a better term to say than getting rid, while phasing out middle schools.
Agreed.
Because if we left the P6s for now, leave them where they are next year, and they'll be P7s. Leave them where they are for one more year, because 2 years will come back into school, into primary school. So when they are P8s, you know, there'll be no middle schools left. So in a couple of years, we could phase out middle schools. And on to secondary school, our children will go from primary if we did it that way. And the other thing that would happen, the schools would gain size. You know, there'd be an increase in students at the schools that are left open. Then, where middle schools are gone, then maybe, you see, from my viewpoint, too much happening at once at all sections of the system. So, you know, we're liable to damage a whole lot of our children. And I think we could work on the curriculum, have them working on the curriculum that they would have been doing in middle school. If it's the curriculum we must fix it. Fix our teachers, make sure that they are imparting what is expected. So teaching and learning is very, very important. And so we need strong teachers, and we need not lose them. And we are losing even teachers. Even teachers are going to private schools.
No, agreed. And Ms. Horton, just to ask, because I know you did a car rally.
Yes.
And that was well received. It went from west to east.
Yeah.
So is there any future things that we should look out for from the West End Warriors as far as that goes?
Yes, there are, but I'm not at liberty to deal with it right now because I don't make the decision alone. So we have constant meetings as to what will happen next.
Okay.
And so certainly we had that huge rally. That was our second rally, We did a car rally in the middle of COVID. And we couldn't have as many people. We got permission. We couldn't have as many people. The first, we had permission to have our first car rally. It was March 20th of, I'm forgetting if it was 2019 or 2020. It was. Do you remember what year we shut down the island?
Oh, goodness.
Oh, okay.
You put me on the spot, dear.
Okay. Anyway, the year we shut down the island, we had a car rally planned. And once we were able to, at the beginning, we had to ask for permission. We were only allowed to gather a few people. We couldn't be in close proximity with one another. So we did have a small car rally of about 20. We had to get permission from the police and the health department and the ministry responsible for the police. So we had to get all their permission to do this. And, people had to stay in their cars. We had a lot of restrictions. But thankfully, we had a decent turnout.
That's
so
good.
Then you realize there are a lot of us who feel this. And certainly the last rally was at the lowest car count was in the 50s, and we went up to beyond 60 in different areas because people joined in. And people called us, can we join in? Yeah, put your flashers on and somebody will let you in. So we ended up with lots of Somerset supporters, and we left Somerset with 52 cars. Now, mind you, there would have been several more, but what happened at the school ground, we tended to fill up the cars that may have two people in it, and they would have left their car and gone in a car with two other people, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
So we did have more than that. We were very happy with the turnout. We were very happy with the reaction of the entire Bermuda. Cars coming towards us tooted. People called to say, where can I get in? Where are you guys now? So there were people on the roadway who were giving us high fives and, lots of toots. So that was well received.
That's good. But do you think that this pressure or this consistent activism has kind of made any headway with government or the minister?
Let me say that I am hopeful. I just believe that the future of our children are at stake. I just think that we need to pause. And right now, that's what we're saying. We need to pause. If we can get our people on the right line, I'm hoping that they will understand why it's important to keep West End School. West End School has certainly served Bermuda well and certainly served Somerset well. And every black family in Somerset has its roots in West End School.
Mm.
Had no choice. Grandparents, great-grandparents. And if you hear the testimony of so many who are there now, those people have long lineage in West End School. Now, mind you, like everything else, we will venture to other places. I mean, if you probably don't know this because you're very young, but during my time, I couldn't go to BAA Field. I couldn't. There were things like that we couldn't do. But the minute they open up, integration is a one-way thing. So the minute they open up, blacks move over. We're open all the time, but they didn't come to us.
Mm.
So it's not surprising that the schools are right now. I don't think there are that many children. The numbers are not that different right now. 10, maybe 12 children different, certainly not that different. So between West End and Somerset Primary, I speak of right now. But certainly we believe that we are the hub of the community, that history is on our side. I would believe that every founding member of the Progressive Labor Party will be turning over right about now at the thought of that happening.
Well, before we come to the complete end of the segment, motion to adjourn. Wanted to send condolences to the family of Miss Diane Hunt, and since you're on, we thought it would be appropriate. Long-standing West End teacher and also a West End warrior. So we wanted to.
Yes, she has done our history. She has worked with us. It was a sad day for us to lose Diane. And not only did she serve that school, we think of the fact that she served our community. She was a student at Sands, that we call one pillar of our community, taught at West End, the other pillar, played softball with me in Somerset Bluebirds. We were on the same team, and we traveled on the Big Blue Machine together. So right at Somerset Cricket Club. So her home was the vertices of our triangle, which makes the hub of our community. Mm-hmm. So yes, Diane served us well, and we in the West End Warriors were very saddened to have her depart. So, it was shocking. It was shocking, but
Yes, I imagine. But before we let you go, we've got a few minutes left, so I want to make sure that if people have been inspired or have heard anything about West End's history that made them want to join your cause, mm-hmm. How would they get in contact with you or the West End Warriors?
Okay, so we are. Hey, I'm in the phone book. I'm not at liberty to give other people's phone numbers, though they probably wouldn't mind. But I'm in the phone book, so they can certainly reach out to us or reach out to the school. We're in complete contact with the school, and we stay in contact with them. So, they know of our support. I want to say, just before I close, before you kick me out of here.
No. We won't kick you out.
Okay. Just one thing that I want to say, when I look at all of the decisions being made with respect to our schools right now, it saddens me that we are spending an enormous amount of money on consultants from abroad. It bothers me that we think we have no experts amongst us. And that is something that we do in Bermuda all too often. And, I just learned of a $1.9 million contract that was renewed for people from down under. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, hey, what's wrong with us? What's wrong with our people? And we do have a lot of experts amongst us. There are many seasoned educators out there. Even, I understand there's a relationship with Bermuda First. I don't know if that costs money, but these are things that we as a community have to look at, because it'll be our money that's being spent. And if these decisions that are happening to our schools are being made like that by foreign consultants, then we have a real issue, because our children will suffer. And you will know, maybe you won't, you're too young, but we know, and parents in the meetings knew what happened to them when they changed the system. And they had gone from, we were senior school and junior school, primary and secondary before, and then we brought in middle. A lot of people feel that they suffered when the change came. Change is hard, so we need complete buy-in. But if we're going to have community schools, then we have to have the community involved. And one of the things I wish to say before I leave, that I certainly do not think I voted to close primary schools, any of them, because I read both the 2017 and the 2020 platform, I don't think there was anything in those platforms that talked about the closure of primary schools. We talked about the phasing out of middle schools, and they talked about the signature schools. But certainly nothing about the closing of primary schools. This has come as a shock, and I don't know, I personally don't think that parish schools make much sense to me. The reason I say that is because parishes are built differently. And if you look at a parish like Southampton, Southampton is the longest parish in this island.
Mm-hmm.
The school chosen is the Downton E. Tucker School, and I believe it should remain Downton E. Tucker School. However, Downton E. Tucker School houses many of Sands Parish residents because that's their neighborhood. If you look at the White Hill area, Spring Benny, lots of kids in that area. All of those young people, many of those young people, walk down to Downton E. Tucker School. So what do I want of the rest of the children in Southampton East? Certainly I don't expect parents to bring them all the way back up. So it defeats the purpose. We should be looking at our schools where our children live, in our areas. So, to expect that to happen, I think it's not realistic.
Mm.
So, I think we could have thought better on what we're doing. I mean, another case that disturbs me to no end is the thought of St. David's not having a school. That's its own community. And to move a school out of there is actually criminal. In other places, we make sure we put little schools in our areas.
To make them accessible. Yep.
Yes, accessible, exactly.
To all people who, can't necessarily afford transportation or,
yes,
all
of that.
To make it easier, because it's your right to have an education, right?
Yes. So those are some of the things I think we failed to look at. And I think we can fail to look at that if you don't know Bermuda. And if the consultants thought, okay, parishes sounds good to me, parishes never sounded good to me. And I say that when I look at the makeup of all the parishes. But I will say right now, the complaints are coming from different areas of the island, but certainly not from Warwick or from Hamilton Parish. But that was an easy solution because that's the school. That's the only school in those parishes. So you're not going to have any complaints because they were there anyway.
Well, Ms. Horton,
they are doing what I would expect. The P7s, the P6s will become P7s, and those P7s will then become P8s before they go to senior school. So that's all we ask for. That's all I would want to ask for every child in this island. And if there are school closures, then, and I don't think anybody is complaining about reform, if school closures must happen, then let's wait out that period, not upset our children more than they're upset now, and let it happen.
Well, Ms. Horton, I think your reasonings are very valid. I do want to definitely see if we can follow up with you when the next steps are taken, and hopefully you'll be able to reach an agreement with the minister on this, because I feel like there's going to be a few other educational groups, or one other educational group that is going to crop up that I think between the two of you, hopefully you get a resolve.
Yes.
But
it is my wish as well.
But I'm going to have to let you go.
Sure.
Before they kick me out. Okay. But we will be in contact, of course, and hopefully we can have you on again further down the line with an update on that situation with West End.
Certainly. And thank you for giving me this opportunity thank you on behalf of the West End Warriors.
Of course, and thank you for coming on. We'll be in touch, okay? You have a good one.
Thanks a million.
Bye. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
And with that, as my colleague Don says, another one in the can.
In the can. Another one.
Thank you so much. And as usual, we appreciate your listenership. And, always contact us or reach out to us if you have any topics you'd like to hear or discuss. As Famous and I usually put our heads together and see which ones are on our radar. But, it's always good to have that external input. So with that, drive home safely. If you are home, put your feet up. If you can't put your feet up, get something nice to eat. And we'll see you.
That sounds good.
Yeah. We'll see you next Thursday. We're adjourned. Here comes the gavel.